What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. John, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
John requested that he be in the back of this video, but he's gonna have his headphones on so he can't hear me.
Because she requested me not to hear her.
I told you you could listen.
Or either hear her.
Whatever.
Okay.
I thought it would be fun for the Halloween season if we talked about some of my spooky ghost stories and paranormal experiences. So this might be a long video, so grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's get into it. Oh, also, like, I don't think I'm like psychic or anything, but I feel like if anything I'm a little sensitive to stuff, if you believe in that. Like, I've always grown up having very strong deja vu, and it happens all the time, and I've had a lot of dreams that have come true exactly the way that I have dreamt them. And I just feel like when I'm somewhere I can kind of like feel out the energy, and just haunted stuff has like always happened to me growing up. So I don't know, and it never happened to my friends, and like sometimes I would go to their house and then something weird would happen and they would be like, it's because you're here, like my house has never been haunted before. So I don't know, I would love to meet a psychic and ask them if they like, if something's going on. Okay, so I grew up in a pretty haunted house, and I don't know if haunted is exactly the word to use because I never felt threatened or scared, and I'll get into why later. But there was definitely paranormal activity that happened in my house, and it's the house I've lived in since I was 2 years old up until I literally moved out a couple months ago. Basically, my dad's family was his parents were the original owners of the house, and when my parents had me, we moved into that house, and so the house has been in my family ever since it was built. So the house has been in my family ever since it was built, and ever since we moved in when I was younger, I would experience weird things, and we would hear footsteps going up and down the stairs. We would hear like doors opening and closing, banging. I always heard my voice being called, and I was the only one that ever heard that. So typical ghost stuff. Things would move. To get into specific things that happened to me, I had this ceramic looking bunny, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it had like stacked buttons as its arms and its legs, and if I can find a picture I'll post it right here. But basically those were given to me by my uncle, and I had them sitting up on like a hutch that I had in my room, and these bunnies had little like rubber pieces at the bottom, so if you sat them on something they wouldn't slide around, right? Well, those bunnies got constantly thrown around, like to the point where I had to get rid of them because an ear had fallen off, like an arm fell off, right? They weren't doing good. And I never saw it, but I would hear it being thrown, and I would come into my room and it would be across my room on the floor, and it was literally impossible because it had a rubber stopper on the bottom preventing it from sliding off, and even if it fell there was no way that it would have been across the room. And one time I went to the bathroom and my best friend was over. Her and my brother were in my room, and they actually saw it get thrown, and it got thrown right past them. And when I came back they were both very scared because it was on the floor, and what was weird is it was on the floor sitting up, which is just really weird. So it was sitting like on the rubber stopper, like under my bed. Very strange. Besides that, I had like dolls that would move on their own, and nobody ever believed me. I would also see shadows all the time. My brother, I think he was too young to remember, but we definitely saw a shadow of somebody waving at us, and we thought that it was our mom. So we started calling her, and then it turned out she was all the way downstairs in our living room. She was nowhere close, and when she came up the shadow disappeared. But all the times that these things happened, it was like we never felt like creepy vibes. I always kind of felt comforted. It's weird, I don't know. But I also always felt like I was being watched in the house. Like no matter where I went, it just felt like there was somebody like right over my shoulder. That I would hear my name getting called all the time. My mom also had a lot of experiences hearing things go up and down the stairs and seeing and hearing things move. And the craziest thing that happened to me, I was around 4 or 5 years old, and one night I fell asleep in my living room with my mom, and I had fallen asleep. It was like late at night. She was watching the news, and we were kind of like spooning on the couch. I was asleep and she was maybe half awake watching the news. So I woke up because I heard somebody calling my name, and I thought it was my mom. When I woke up, I turned around. Obviously it wasn't her, because I remember her kind of being like half awake or half asleep, whatever. And the voice was coming from another room in my house. At that time it was my dining room. Since then it's been changed, but whatever. I heard a voice coming from that room, and it was a woman's voice. And I heard it saying something about a grandma, or something about it being my grandma. So a little bit of backstory. Like I said, my dad's parents, my grandparents, were the original owners of the house, and my grandma passed away before my parents even met, so I never got to meet her, but she did pass away in that house. This was kind of the point where we realized maybe it's her. What's up? Editing Brittany here. I realized I never clarified that when we made the realization that it was probably my grandma, that's why I never really felt threatened, and I always felt comforted by whatever was in my house. I always just kind of assumed it was her, and it always gave me like a comfort instead of making me scared. And also, my dad hardcore does not believe in ghosts, and everybody else in my family does except for him, but he makes fun of us, and he only believes in aliens. So nothing creepy ever happened to him, but it did happen to the rest of us. I heard it saying like, "Brittany, I'm your grandma," or something along those lines. So I remember being a brave little 5-year-old, I walked over there to go investigate what this was, because the only grandma that I knew was my mom's mom, and I was like, what is she doing at my house, you know? So I walked over. The way that my house is laid out is like, we have one room and there's like a wall, and then basically you can enter from either side to the other room, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like a donut shape. So I remember walking over and seeing a light like around the corner, and as I got closer the voice got louder, but then when I turned the corner it all just disappeared. It went dark. I didn't hear anything. My mom was asking me like, what are you doing? And I was like, Mom, you don't hear the lady? She's saying she's my grandma, which my mom remembers this too, so I have confirmation that this happened. And she didn't know what was happening. She thought maybe I was dreaming, so she was just like, all right, come back to bed, you know. The next day she decided to tell my dad what happened, and my dad said, oh, well, that's really interesting, because that room was my mom's favorite room in the house. So that was like the biggest thing that happened. Other than that, it was like stuff being moved around, lots of footsteps. And what's weird too is the stairs going up to the bedrooms in my house, they have carpet on them. So it's an old house, but you wouldn't normally hear somebody going up and down the stairs unless they were like stomping. But it never sounded like anyone was stomping, just like heavy footsteps going up and down the stairs. And a lot of times the bathroom is the first thing that you reach when you go up the stairs. We would be like in the bathroom and hear somebody like coming up, and it would, to me, sound like the footsteps were coming up to my room and then they would just stop. So really creepy. I've also felt weird vibes in my childhood bedroom, and all that stuff kind of stopped actually. My house was very active, I would say, up until I was maybe like 15, and then it stopped. And within the past couple of years, it seems like activity has started again, but I don't know who it would be. But this time I get like a different vibe from it. Like, I've heard doors close and stuff has fallen, and I just get weird vibes in my old room. And my mom has actually told me that she constantly hears stuff falling in my room, like even to this day. I'm not there, she hears stuff like falling in my room, like somebody's in there dropping. She said it sounds like somebody's dropping a hairbrush. But when she told me that, I was not comforted, and I did not want to sleep in my room anymore after that. I also forgot to mention that I have a Google Home, and it has always gone off on its own. Like, it'll be completely silent, and it'll respond to things like answering questions, or right before I moved, it randomly started playing a song off of Spotify, and it was completely silent in my room. And
John also has a Google Home and his never does that, only mine. And just recently, my Google Home went off. I was talking to my mom on the phone and I did not say anything about Google. And she went off saying, "Thank you so much for talking to me. I'll talk to you again soon." Creepy. I know that's probably not paranormal, but I just feel like something's a little weird. So
yeah, there was a time that I was woken up because it sounded like somebody went like right in my ear, and that woke me up, and that was creepy. Yeah, I think that's all the experiences that happened in my house. John, do you want to talk about the Queen Mary?
Yeah, that was scary because I was the only one who saw it.
What did you see?
I didn't hear anything. No,
You heard it.
I heard it. I didn't see anything.
Okay, so let's go back. So this was about a year ago, right? We decided to go to the Queen Mary to go ghost hunting, and there was 4 of us.
Yo.
So we got a room. We got it on the B level, right? B?
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the more haunted floors. So we got a room and we were gonna go ghost hunting. So a couple weird things happened, being that the Queen Mary is just creepy, first of all, right? Like, you just get weird vibes there.
It's very like the narrow hallways and just the not being able to see outside is.
Yeah, and the hallways are also really dark, and like the rooms are far away, and it's just weird. So I think on our like initial tour of the ship, we didn't like see anything creepy, but I do remember that we were in like that lobby part. Do you remember there's like a lobby area, and they have a model of the ship. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna see actually if I have the voice recording still, but basically we were taking like voice recordings and videos just to see if we could capture anything. And we had walked past that, and oh my gosh, this might be it. Oh my god, I have a bunch of them that say like the Queen Mary or like Long Beach Boulevard. I didn't even name them that, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, we were taking like little voice memos and stuff, and so I had one recording, and we were looking in, and you couldn't get into the scale model, but it was like old doors with windows, and it went all the way around to like another side, and there were like old like rickety doorknobs. And so I remember we had like looked in, and as we were turning to walk away, it sounded like somebody was like jiggling the doorknob. And so then I immediately turned around because I was the last one and nobody was behind me. And when I went to go look, obviously there was nothing there, and I jiggled the doorknob and it sounded exactly like that. So I'm gonna see if I can find the voice recording. Obviously I don't have like physical evidence, but this is what I heard when it happened. Hold on. Okay, I don't know if this is the recording, but I think I heard something like knock on a door. So here it is. It's not good quality, it's on my phone. All right, we're at the Queen Mary. I think I just heard it do it. Okay, I'm gonna pretend that So I don't know if that was it, because I remember it being like somebody jiggling a doorknob. Maybe I would have to like listen to it with headphones or something, but anyway, that happened. And then, did you hear footsteps when we were walking around at like 3 a.m.?
It was when we first got towards that room, or like when we got to like the little...
what is it, B13? What is it? B340. Okay. So yeah, we decided to go go check out B340 because that is the most haunted room in the Queen Mary. So we ventured over there, and I think that they've started renting it out again, but I'm pretty sure it's expensive to stay there, like more so than any other room. So we had gone to check it out, and it's like the very last room, and then if you go past that, it goes into a weird room that leads you downstairs to like a ballroom, right? There was like a ballroom down there. Yes. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, we went to the room, and I remember it being really like cold over there. And then I walked up to the room and I tried to see if I could hear anything through the door. And I just remember it smelling really bad. Did you smell it?
I smelled like a faint smell. I don't know if it was as extreme as you smelled it.
Yeah, I went up to it and it literally just smelled like death. So it smelled really bad. I remember we hung out there for a little bit, tried to like see if we can get something to contact us. And then when we were hanging out there, I can't remember, we basically went back twice. We walked around like, I don't know, like 7 or 8, and then we stayed up until 3 a.m. to explore the ship again. I can't remember which time it was, but there was a time that we were hanging out there, and while we were all waiting there, John and our other friend Johnny were kind of down the hall, and me and Joey were hanging out by B340, and we were just kind of sitting there like whispering to each other, and all of a sudden we heard what sounded like a woman singing coming from that creepy room that led downstairs. So we both just kind of stopped talking at the same time and looked at each other, and we were like, do you hear that? Like, yeah, what do you hear? A woman singing. And we both heard it, and when we asked them, they didn't hear it, and our friend Johnny was recording, but he couldn't hear it on his recordings either. So then we decided to kind of venture in there, and John was crazy and he went downstairs to the ballroom or whatever it was, but nothing was down there, right?
No.
Or they were having a party or something, but it was kind of creepy. I don't know, the entire space just gave me creepy vibes. So we decided to leave, and when we were walking back to our room, we were walking down the narrow hallway to get to kind of like the main foyer area, and then we heard footsteps.
Yeah, I heard like footsteps just coming from just the other side of either a hall or by a door. Like we walked by it, and I mean, I heard it. I definitely kind of almost felt it since it was like wooden. Like the floors are kind of...
It's like carpet,
on
but
top of wood,
yeah.
You can feel the vibration from... But yeah, I looked back and obviously nothing was there.
Yeah, I remember John just like walking, he was in the very back and he was like, can we walk faster please? We were like, what's happening? He was like, just walk faster. And then once we got to the foyer, he was like, I was hearing footsteps like coming right after us. None of us heard it, he was the only one. We stayed up, like I said, and our way to keep ourselves entertained was we were playing like a card game in our room. And I don't think that we were being loud, right?
I don't think so.
We were being pretty quiet, I would assume. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, but this is probably the weirdest thing that happened to us. But we were up like playing our card game, laughing, whatever, right? And all of a sudden we heard like the quietest knock on our door, right? Like to the point where we all questioned if that was actually a knock or not. Joey went to go see who it was, and he looked through the little like peephole, and what he says, none of us saw it. I don't know if we were just scared to get up and look or what, but we all stayed like on the bed, and he went and looked. He looked through the little peephole, and he said, I remember him looking through, and he turned around and went, oh, the captain's outside. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We were like, what? Because there's no captain to the Queen Mary, it's docked, you know? And he said that it was somebody dressed up in like a captain's uniform, which could not be anybody who worked there because that's not what they wear. They all look like concierges, you know? And so he didn't see their face because they were turned like out in the hallway and their back was to the door, he said. And then as he was noticing that, he looked down and there was a slip of paper under the door that somebody had slid. So he picked it up, and we all thought it was gonna be like a note saying to be quiet or something, but it was our bill for the room. And it was just really weird because we had already paid for the room and we didn't order anything, so it was just like a bill confirming that we paid for it. And we were like, why are they dropping off bills under people's doors at like 3 a.m.? So the entire thing was just really weird. And when Joey looked back through the peephole, the guy was gone, and then that was kind of that. But that was probably the weirdest thing to happen, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. You just played tricks on Brittany the entire night too.
Oh my gosh, so
that was good.
I'm still confused about what happened. Basically, was the window open first or not?
I don't know, was it? I think
no, I'm genuine. It was closed, right? Or no, it was open. No, it was closed.
It was closed.
It was closed. So we had a little porthole in our room, and the window was closed, right? So I remember like taking mental note, like the windows. No, actually, I think we opened it. I genuinely can't remember. I think I opened it. And I remember like taking note of like, okay, it's open or it's closed. I don't even know. So we went out to go eat. And when we came back, I was like, I noticed it like, we had already been there like half an hour maybe. I was like, oh my God, the window's closed or open. Let's just say it was closed, okay? I was like, the window's closed. And then everybody started making me feel crazy. They were like, it was closed the whole time. And I was like, no, it wasn't, because I was the one that opened it. And I remember taking a mental note, like if a ghost comes out or like closes it, I would know. So for the entire night, they were making me feel dumb, and they were saying that it was closed the entire time. And it wasn't until the next morning that they said, okay, we were just messing with you, and we got in here and closed it before you could come in. So that was that. Remember that weird closet that was in the room?
Oh, yeah.
I thought we either went in or we wrote something, but we didn't get anything.
Yeah, there was nothing.
But I did get some pictures that had orbs in them, so that's kind of creepy if I can find them right here. But yeah, other than that, do you have any ghost experiences, John?
I do, but it was a long time ago, and I also don't remember the details as much.
I think that's all my experiences. So far, we haven't had any ghost experiences in this apartment. That's good, because I was very worried about moving into a haunted place. Yeah.
Or I'm just not telling you.
I would definitely experience it first though, because like I said, I always experience things before anybody else. So anyway, that is all my ghost experiences. That's actually not all of them. I haven't talked about the ones at Disney.
Oh God.
That's a whole nother video. If you guys want to hear about ghost experiences I've had at Disneyland, let me know. Happy Halloween, everybody. I don't know if this will be my last video before Halloween happens. We're supposed to carve pumpkins together, yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll carve pumpkins and share Disneyland ghost stories. No, I don't know. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Feel free to share your ghost stories in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Do you want to say bye, John?
Bye, John.
Bye, guys.